Taste of death is an interesting concept. Yeah, it is. It's an incredibly frightening one as well, because I take it, look, it's the unknown, isn't it? And it frightens people. Yeah. And I think in many ways there's see, it's kind of like the fear of being still. That ultimate stillness frightens us because life, at a very fundamental level, is movement and dynamism. So if there's no dynamics, there is no life. And movement necessitates life. Okay, so, or sorry, life necessitates movement. And so its kind of counterpart is then an ultimate stillness. And in many ways, this is what Freud was also hypothesizing with his pleasure principle and the death principle, because he said that, you see, the pleasure principle is what stirs us up, and we're constantly in this kind of this noise, this this kind of chaotic, this chaos within us, and we want it to be still. We want to still it and quieten it down. But for it to be quiet is ultimately the death principle. So it's as though a person, in many ways, is confoundingly between these two, that he is, he's trying to fulfill these desires, but at the same time wants to get rid of them, but simultaneously doesn't want to get rid of them. You see, it's not just wanting, but wanting to want is the important thing. Sometimes it's not even, it's just the desire to want. Those of you that are familiar with Lacanian psychoanalysis, Lacan, this was one of his kind of things he expanded on, that it's this desire that kind of drives us. And it's not even sometimes the object could be something very harmful. You see, we could desire something that we don't like, and that's often at the ground of many addictions, gambling, many kind of addictions, drugs, self-harm. People, they can be driven to pursue something addictively that they don't actually like. In fact, they may dislike it strongly, but they still, because that's how the pathways work. There is a distinction between the wanting of something and the liking of something, and at times they overlap. And this is what Lacan meant by, he used the term jouissance, and this was often difficult to translate into English, because they kind of said pleasure, but it wasn't. See, pleasure doesn't quite, because pleasure is often liked, but this wasn't about that. And I always thought that, the Arabic way to translate it would be easier, that shahwa, that there is a kind of this desire that you will then pursue because it's a want, but it doesn't have to be something that is liked. And there's been studies, by the way, so they've had very famous studies where they'll get rats or mice and program them with certain receptors into their brain to and associate the stimulus of getting a shock. Like when they touch this thing, this rod, let's say, they get a shock, but it triggers that dopaminergic pathway. to kind of want. So they keep doing it, and some till death, because they just want that kick. They don't. It's, you see, it's past that point of, obviously in them, I mean, rats are not rationalizing it anyway, but even humans, it's beyond that rationality then. It's now, it's that that dopaminergic kick that they, it doesn't matter. it's it's shocking as a mechanism. you know, because in many ways this is that kind of the nuffs having down spiraled. But let's move on.